Andy's Angels, Mike Hirst. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
I just saw you yesterday.
I know, just like that.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So we're getting ready for the return of the in-person drug summit.
We are, Bart and Andy, and so thanks for having us on this morning. Drug Summit 7 is scheduled for March 8th, which is a month away.
Yeah.
It's going to be at the American One Event Center this year, which is different. Before we've had it at Jackson College. So it's a little bit different, but we expect it's going to be a great crowd. We've been working on this the last several months with our planning committee. We expect to really have a good turnout of people.
Yeah, and we heard last night on the State of the Union, President Biden talking about the supply of fentanyl that has infiltrated our country, and his claim that he wants to do something about it, and I think we all do. But this is one of the newer problems that is affecting people in every community, Mike, including Jackson.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The scariest part about it is the fentanyl's in everything. They're cutting everything with fentanyl. But the really scary part is they're making the fake pills. The Mexican drug cartels have their own pill presses. They make a Xanax that looks just like a Xanax you get from the pharmaceutical, and it's not. It's just fentanyl with a cutter in it, and that's what's killing a lot of kids. Mm-hmm. First time they ever tried anything.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, I just want to add to that. Sure. Mike is right. The pill presses have become more sophisticated, so that in fact they do look like the genuine article, and so that's what makes them so dangerous to people.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful.
Yeah.
What ages would you recommend to attend this drug summit?
Well, if you're asking me, I would say all ages.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly grade school kids, high school, adults, parents, teachers. One of the things we looked at when we did the first drug summit, basically the idea was to educate the public about heroin and opioids and the link between heroin and prescription painkillers or opioids. That was a big thing. We wanted to get that message out, and very successful doing that. But out of that first drug summit, there was a number of other things that came out to help the people in the community. Obviously, Andy's place, when we look at accomplishments since the first drug summit, is the crown jewel of that. I mean, that huge accomplishment, and kudos to Mike Hirst and his family for making that happen. But there are some other good things that also happened in our community out of the drug summits. We have a short-term place called the Engagement Center, which just looks at people who overdose, typically from opioids, and they can stay 24 to 48 hours, and that's just, the word engagement is basically to engage a person who has the substance use disorder, engage them with the idea of resources to get recovery help. We did that. Also, the safe drop box locations expanded from 14, went to 14 now, when they were 4 back in 2013, 14. And also the use of Narcan with our law enforcement and fire. Now that's become readily available, which is helpful to keep people alive. For example, the Sheriff Schutte has a vending machine allowing for free Narcan for people who come there. And that's a big thing, because I remember in the initial summits, there was debate. We didn't have enough Narcan or naloxone, and so some debate from some law enforcement, not in our county, but I'm not going to give Narcan, if it's the second overdose time, or we've been called to the same person or whatever, a third time. We don't have that anymore because Narcan's available. It helps keep people alive, and you can then get them to recovery or rehab. Also educating students, and also a family support group called Families for Hope here in town that was started by Mike, Connie Friend, and Julie Reisner, which it focuses on not the person who has the addiction or substance use disorder, but about the families. I mean, how do they deal with that, with the loved one who has this disorder? What do you do? Where do you go? That is really a big need, and that has really been a great creation of a support group here locally. So one of the good things that came out of this, these summits.
And we provide, anyone who wants to come to that meeting, we provide them with an Narcan to take home with them.
How important is it for folks to hear from people that are going through recovery? I know you'll have a recovery panel at the summit. How important is that? Well, really for anyone who goes, parents, people who are struggling with addiction.
It's really important to see the success. Far too often, people just give up.
Yeah.
That there's the general public that's not even maybe doesn't have somebody in their family. They're thinking, once a junkie, always a junkie. That's just not true at all.
Right.
We have huge success stories, and it's a long, hard road, and toughest mountain you're ever going to climb, but it's certainly possible. And we have people that own businesses, the people that are full-blown addicts that finally got better, got their first house, got the next house, taking vacations, doing all the things that we all do and love to do. And their life wasn't over. They thought it was over, but it wasn't over.
Addicts are only thinking about one thing, correct?
Oh yeah, when you're in the throngs of addiction, it's I got to get the drug, I got to get the money for the drug, and it just is every day over and over the same thing over and over. Get them away from that. You got to show them a little hope. You got to show them the light. You got to show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you do that by taking a little time out. Don't treat them like some derelict person.
Yeah.
That person's sick, so why don't we treat them like you would your own family member when they're sick, and show them you care.
So you'll have all kinds of things happening at this drug summit. You're bringing in some guest speakers and panels. And tell us a little bit about what the day's going to be like.
Yeah, registration is going to be starting at 8 o'clock, 8:20 in the morning. And obviously, online registration is now available through Drug Free Jacks and their website. Look to the link for the summit. But it's free and open to the public. Most people are going to register in advance online. And then from 8:20 to 8:30 is just welcome remarks to people coming in. And the program starts promptly at 8:30. We're going to have Andy's Place panel. For those persons who've been at Andy's and in the program and how it's impacted their lives, made a difference. And then we'll go to our keynote speaker, a medical doctor from Grand Rapids, Dr. Kara Poland. We'll talk about where we're at with opioids, also post-COVID epidemic, how that's impacted opioids use in our country. And then we'll take a break, and then we're going to go to Lieutenant Garrison from the Michigan State Police talking about emerging drug trends, obviously the fentanyl impact, as Mike referred to already. And then lunch will be free. We've got boxed lunch for adults, and for students who come, there'll be a pizza lunch. And then after that, we're going to have a number of panels in the afternoon. We've got a youth panel. We'll have a recovery panel in general. Their stories about what's happened to them. And then we'll finish up. Mike will finish up a little talk, motivational talk for people to, get back involved. I think one of the goals we have too of this is since COVID, is to get people back in person, especially the different work groups, because we will have quarterly meetings after Drug Summit 7, and that's important because you need that. People need that. I think one of the things that I think we've come out statistically is that because of the isolation from COVID, that increased or spiked substance use. You look at the numbers from the CDC, 2020, I believe we cracked 100,000 overdose drug deaths. 2021, it was 110,000. And then last year it was 107,000. And our last drug summit, we were under 70,000. So it gives you an idea of what happened. It's pretty dramatic. So although I think we've made great strides in our county, I think nationwide, obviously we have a problem with drug use and overdose deaths.
And you ask, how important it is to hear from those battling addiction. It's the families of, well, you mentioned Julie Reisner, it's Chris's family, it's Andy's family that really are driving our community's response to the opioid epidemic.
Absolutely. Just because your son, daughter, or loved one has passed away doesn't mean you can't jump in and help and make sure that doesn't happen to somebody else's family. And there's things that happen during that process that you'll never learn in any college class. It's real life stuff that happens, and unfortunately, you learn the lesson the hard way on how to deal with it. And if we can share all the mistakes we made with somebody, and put their child on a path to recovery. I know that's just that heals that little hole in your heart that's always going to be there.
I think we should mention too that this can happen to any family in the country.
Oh, absolutely. You give me a profession, somebody that's in a professional situation, I can tell you somebody that's battling addiction in that profession. I don't care if it's a police officer, school teacher, doctor, nurse, TV host.
Yeah.
I can find somebody out there that's battling it. It's across the board. It doesn't matter what race you are, what gender you are. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It's everybody. And it's going to take everybody to fix that problem. And that's why I rely on my community to step in, and I'm always cheering people on to get involved. We can do this together. And this is something that's going to affect. You might even say, hey, it's not affecting me right now. I don't have anybody in my family. Well, you're going to have kids, you're going to have grandkids. Somebody's going to be affected by it. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you think you are. It can happen.
Well, we'll be telling you more about the Drug Summit in the month ahead, but it is 1 month from today, March 8th at 8 a.m. at the American Event Center, and it's free. Everyone's welcome, and thanks to both of you for all the work you're doing on this event and all that you've been doing. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the time this morning. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Bart. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you both.
Jerry Jarzynka and Mike Hirst. The morning show continues after this.
The PIC Center is an independent practice that has provided care to the Jackson area for over 25 years.